Okay, I'm filming already. This is insane. This is a baby black and white spiny-tail.
Iguana?
Yeah, this is a baby iguana. That's a baby iguana. And there was another one too that I wasn't able to catch. Look how small he is.
He's so cute.
The green iguana we found last time was a juvenile. This is like a baby. This is like a
black
newborn.
and white spiny.
Yeah, this is a spiny-tail. Okay, buddy. Lighten the camera. I think I'm gonna get chomped. Well, feel how warm he is. He's been basking all day. See him? This is the species we've been trying to find in Naples. Or Venice, I mean. Okay, I'm gonna let him go.
Can I
hold him again? That's crazy. That's the second one I saw as well. This is insane. I don't really know why or how. It's almost like a little bit of a punch in the gut. But the one place on this trip we find the native anole species is in the invasive species hotspot of Florida. We're in Key Biscayne right now, and I just found a green anole. You can see with the pink dewlap here.
No, I found the green anole.
Okay, fine. Caroline found the green anole. You can tell it's a green anole because, well, A, it's green, but it also has a very pointy face, unlike the brown anoles, which have a much more sort of blunt face. Or I guess not a blunt face, but just not like this super triangular face. That's a really beautiful one. That is so weird. That's the first green anole I've seen this whole trip in Florida, and we're in the invasive hotspot. Hey, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Fantastic Nature Adventures. I'm your host, Nat Urmson, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys some of the really cool invasive herp species that me and my girlfriend Caroline found when we were down in southern Florida. We went down to like Miami area just for a weekend over the winter when I was visiting her, and there are some crazy herps down there because Miami, if you guys don't know, is pretty much like the hot spot of the world for invasive species, not just reptiles. There's like all sorts of crazy stuff. There's like monkeys down there, all sorts of invasive birds, invasive invertebrates. Like southern Florida in general is just so full of invasive species. It's a really big problem down there, but honestly for me it's pretty cool because I can go down there and visit and find some species that I like would never ever be able to see otherwise unless I traveled to like Africa or Asia or something. So in this video I'm just going to show you guys some of the cool creatures that I was able to find down there. I wasn't able to catch honestly like any of these lizards, or like very few of these lizards, just because they were so fast and they were so much like more equipped at escaping from me than like the lizards that I'm used to catching. So I guess I should have been a little bit more prepared when it came to catching them in general. But yeah, either way, I'm just gonna kind of do some voiceover of some of the cool species down there. I'm hoping to go back down there at some point. My girlfriend goes to school in Florida, so I'm sure next winter I'll be back down there, and I might go down for longer and like be a little bit more prepared on how to actually catch these creatures. But there were just so many crazy herps down there, and yeah, I just got to show them to you guys, especially with a channel like this. So hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. So the first place that we went to on the trip was a part of southern Florida, kind of southwest of Miami, called Homestead, which was like kind of like the last town before you get into the Everglades. And we went there, and there was a ton of invasive species in this sort of like lot area that we found, and there were a ton of these Peter's rock agamas. Unfortunately, because they were like so fast, so agile, I've never seen a lizard that good at evading capture before. I wasn't able to catch any, and we weren't even really able to film them that much, but they're actually native to Western Africa, and they're a common pet. A lot of the animals there that are invasive in Florida are descended from escaped pets. So yeah, Peter's rock agamas were thriving there along the rocks and on the trees and stuff, and we saw quite a few of them. At the same location, we also saw a ton of green iguanas, but they were all very large adults, and they were all chilling way up at the top of trees. But then later that night, we found, well, let's just say, a more catchable one. Okay, well, what's going on? I'm in Miami. Not really Miami, actually. I'm in Homestead, which is like 45 minutes southwest of Miami. And I just found, well, we just found a baby green iguana, which is one of the invasive species you can find out here in South Florida. It's crazy how long the tail is compared to the rest of the body. So yeah, just like the Peters Rock agamas, green iguanas are a very, very successful invasive species throughout the state of Florida, all the way up, honestly, into like Pinellas County, sort of like central peninsular Florida, but their stronghold is definitely in the Miami area in southern Florida, and they are really just very, very common there. They live all over like golf courses and in people's yards. They really are thriving down there, and just like the Peters Rock agama, they are a very popular pet lizard species. I mean, honestly, green iguanas are particularly common in terms of pets. I even have some relatives that had a pet iguana before, so they are particularly common, and yeah, just like the agamas, they are thriving in southern Florida. And they are herbivorous, but this does not stop them from doing significant damage to the native ecosystem. They're eating a lot of different plant species that are under threat, and they're competing with other herbivorous animals in the area. So yeah, green iguanas unfortunately seem to be here to stay when it comes to southern Florida, but they definitely should not be there. They're definitely causing a lot of damage. And so the next day, my girlfriend and I went and found the other invasive iguana species to southern Florida, and this one is, in my opinion, particularly impressive. So the next day, my girlfriend and I went to Miami, like the actual city of Miami, and we went to this sort of island off of Miami called Key Biscayne, and that place was crawling with invasive herps. But the herps that we were most often seeing were these pretty huge black spiny-tailed iguanas, or black and white spiny-tailed iguanas, and these are very, very large iguanas. I would say they're stockier than green iguanas, and they were just all over the place. I caught a couple of baby ones in the beginning, like in the blooper of this episode. You can see that I caught a little baby one, but this is a full-grown one, and we were feeding it some fruit, which I guess maybe you're not really supposed to feed them, but like they're already invasive. Florida's already overrun with invasives. Like, I don't know, I just feel like there's just so many invasives there that it's kind of lawless out there. But yeah, they were very, very common. They were seen all over the place in Miami, along with green iguanas. And yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this one because this is a beautiful, full-grown adult in a tree, and it was just amazing looking. So unlike green iguanas, this species of iguana is not just a herbivore, it's also an omnivore. So it'll also take small animals, eggs, basically anything that it can find, which is definitely a problem for it living in Florida because it means that it can basically eat any native species that it can fit in its mouth. So like that green anole that I featured earlier in this episode could be a snack for the species of iguana. Also, apparently they're considered the fastest lizard in the world, which I find hard to believe compared to some other lizard species that I know about. But apparently they're considered the fastest lizard in the world. They can get to a speed of 21.5 miles per hour, which is pretty fast. And they use that very, very quintessential spiny tail of theirs, which just, has like some really, really rigid, probably very high keratinous scales on their tail to, defend themselves. So they'll like whack you if you try to like pick them up. I was kind of tempted to catch this one. Honestly, I probably could have been because I was pretty close to it, but I was just afraid about taking a chomp. I mean, if I took a chomp from that guy, that could be pretty bad. That could maybe even get me to the hospital. So I was just a little bit cautious about that. But yeah, this is a really cool species of iguana. Not quite as common in Florida as the green iguana. Definitely a little bit more localized. Kind of honestly the only area of southern Florida that they're really, really often seen in is Key Biscayne. I mean, they are kind of in other areas, but they have like a very, very big stronghold in Key Biscayne. And yeah, so for the rest of this video, I'm just going to show you guys like briefly some other species that I was able to see. Honestly, none of these other ones I was able to film like enough or really catch or get close to enough to really like, get like really in depth with them. But I'm just going to kind of give some like honorable mentions to some other herps that we saw down there. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this a little bit here. So on the same night, just a little bit before we found that young green iguana, we also found this strange mystery invasive gecko. I was originally leaning towards it being a ringed wall gecko, but that would be a pretty crazy find since there's very, very, very few reports of them in South Florida in general. So now I'm leaning towards a flat-tailed house gecko. If you guys have any idea of what species this is, please let me know in the comments, because I'm still pretty stumped by this one. There's tons of different species of geckos that don't belong in South Florida. There's even Madagascar giant day geckos, tokay geckos, which I really want to try to see. But this species is some kind of invasive gecko. Not exactly sure what kind, but I'm leaning towards flat-tailed house gecko. But if any of you guys know more about geckos, let me know in the comments, because this is probably the only invasive herp that I'm truly stumped by in terms of the exact identification of it. So the next morning, literally just outside of the hotel we were staying at, there was a massive Cuban night anole, one of the other invasive lizard species I was hoping to encounter down there in southern Florida. This is a large anole species from Cuba, of course, hence the name. And they're an omnivorous, pretty opportunistic species of anole, so that's why they do so well in South Florida, because they can eat pretty much anything they can find. The fact that they're the same genus as a brown anole or a green anole, which I would say are probably a third of the size, honestly just blows my mind, because they are so beautiful and so large. Lastly, also on Key Biscayne, where we found that huge black spiny-tailed iguana, we found these dusky giant amoebas, which are a type of teid lizard, so in the same family as tegus, whiptails, and race runners. And honestly, these were just crazy, because they were not even in any other part of South Florida when I looked at observations on a naturalist, pretty much just in Key Biscayne, and they were literally everywhere. Every single place I looked, there was 3 or 4 of these, I mean, relatively large, bluish gray lizards from South America. So that was pretty mind-blowing. And teids are super intelligent. That's why tegus make such good pets, because they're actually very smart, and they're very, very, very fast. So they're good at escaping people, and they're also just very smart at outwitting, capture from predators and stuff. So I wasn't able to actually catch one of them. We spent a long time trying to catch one, but they are really, really, really smart. Anyway, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode about some of the invasive, basically just lizard species found in southern Florida. I'm sorry this one took a bit of time to get out there. I've been pretty busy for the past few months, but this summer I'm going to be trying to go herping some more. I'm down in Tennessee with my girlfriend right now, so hopefully I can make a couple herping videos down there, and then I'm going to actually be going out west and actually living out there for a couple of months, sort of into the fall, so hopefully I can make some cool stuff out there too. But once again, I'm not trying to promise too much, considering that I upload once every 6 months on this channel. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you learned a couple things about the invasive herps in Florida. It's honestly just crazy to me. I'm definitely going to come back down there, because my girlfriend goes to school down there, so definitely going to look for some more invasives down there in the Miami area, because it's really just insane. There's so much more that I haven't discovered yet. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Have a great day, and be sure to subscribe, give it a like if you haven't, and yeah, look out for the next video whenever that comes out, and see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.